Hey everybody, Dr. Ryan Molly here, and I'm sorry to disappoint you guys. We don't have a new episode of Hey Sawbones this week. I know I kind of teased you guys, told you we'd be having Jordan Fee, and trust me, he's coming. I just wanted to make you guys wait a little bit longer. But thought we'd do something a little bit different this week. We have successfully recorded and launched 20 episodes of Hey Sawbones, My Story, My Passion. And I really want to kind of go backwards and look at a little highlight reel from each of those episodes, maybe 3 to 5 minutes. Some of the funny moments, some of the real personal moments, and just kind of give tribute to all of the great guests that I've had over the past 6 months or so of me recording this. And again, it's been the most fun project I've done in probably 15 years. And just want to give a little shout out to all those 20 individuals that were gracious enough to come on the podcast and share their stories and just interact with me. So trust me, we're coming back with the regularly scheduled individual guests with Jordan Fee. I've got another great guest that people from the Meadville area I think are definitely going to know and be excited about. I'm going to leave it at that because I want to keep you guys hanging a little bit. But stay tuned. It's going to be fun. And as always, if you have any suggestions, any comments, please share those with us. If you have any guests that you'd love to see, share those with us. And then we've got some other cool things coming towards the end of this month as we approach Christmas. So have a great day, happy holidays, and an early Merry Christmas to each of you.
All nurses to the nurses station.
Lawless country people are real close family. Lately some of my kinfolk don't get around too good, you see. When that doctor asked them, son, how'd you get in this condition? They says, hey, Sawbones, I'm just carrying on an old family tradition. Wanna know, Doc, why do you think I got some pain in my joints from years of playing hard in this life that's too short? When that doctor asked me, son, how'd you get in this condition? I says, hey, Sawbones, I'm just carrying on an old family tradition. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tell me all about it, Doc.
Yeah, so I guess the next portion of this is where we do kind of a beverage break. And unfortunately, I think our version last night was a lot more exciting than this morning. Our beverage break is consisting of coffee, but I think we should at least share our story of last night. So each time I have a guest on, I like to surprise them with a beverage. And usually I'll ask somebody, hey, what's your favorite drink or this or that, whether it's alcoholic, non-alcoholic, it doesn't really matter. But I'm not giving you the choice, or I didn't give you the choice last night. I kind of wanted to surprise you and not even tell you about that part of the show. So I surprised you with a big 25-ouncer Busch Heavy, not even Busch Light, Busch Heavy can. And I asked you, hey, does this remind you of any stories? So if you don't mind, just kind of bringing us through exactly what memory came to mind when I brought that can out.
Yeah. So Busch is a funny beer. Like I don't drink Busch very often, but growing up, I think that not growing up, I guess when we were like of age, I think Busch is a very popular beer in Northwest Pennsylvania. It is a beer that sort of signifies, like hard work in the working class, and so we have a story. This was accidental. We were getting ready to go to help Ryan's dad. You might want to set the stage with your dad.
Yeah. So, I mean, for those of you that know me, grew up on a small beef farm, hobby farm, where we had at the most maybe 20 head of cattle. And so we would always have to, do hay in the summertime, which there brings up some good stories with you and I. And we had to go get the feed. So we had to go to the feed mill, and we were going down to Cochranton. And, my dad is the modern day, was it Tom Sawyer or Huck Finn that always like got people to do stuff for him?
I think it was Tom Sawyer, yeah.
Yeah. So he's kind of like the modern Tom Sawyer, or as we affectionately termed him, General G. For Gerald, my dad, and because he's a super hard worker, but he's also like the master delegator. And he would always rope my friend. He'd be like, "Hey, you want to see if Jared wants to come over?" And like, "Oh yeah, that'd be fun." And then by the time Jared gets over there, he has a list of things that we are going to do. As his slave driver mentality. So take over from there.
No, General G definitely had like a mentality of like, if you're there, you're basically one of the kids. So they had no problem like assigning you work as if you were his own kid, which is totally fine. I loved it. Well, I might not have loved it while we were doing it, but
you definitely didn't love it while we were doing it.
Right. So but anyway, we would do a lot of fun stuff. So we had to go get feed for the cows, and feed comes in really heavy bags. I mean, maybe 75 pounds.
Something like that.
And so we were getting ready to go down to Cochranton, and we stopped at my house. And this was, I think, like the summer between some of the college years. I forget, but we were of age, and I found like this case of Busch that we had, and I don't even think it was cold.
It definitely was not cold. I don't think you drink Busch cold. I mean, last night was a treat because it was pretty cold.
I don't know. I would prefer anything cold, I guess. But so anyway, we decided we're going to go get some feed, so we needed some beer muscles. So we had a couple bushes, not a lot, but enough to like just give you like, it's like Red Bull gives you wings. Like I feel like Busch gives you like strength. I think there's like part creatine in it. So we had a couple bushes, went down to the feed mill and loaded up the truck like with no problem. Like it just seemed like way easier than normal.
And I have to add, like, I think it affected you more than me. Like, if I threw one bag in, Jared was throwing 4. He was just a machine. He just kept going and going, and so we were just like, man, it's got to be the Busch.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So ever since then, sort of had like an affinity for it. But I don't drink it much. But like when I do think of that story.
Nostalgic, right?
Yeah, right.
How about the flip side, though? How about the positive?
So I think it's in two parts in general. I mean, I think when patients are happy with surgical outcomes, when they come in ecstatic, when they tell their friends about it, when someone, even, an 85, 9-year-old lady comes in and you did something for her that she's had issues forever. No one told her she could ever have something done, and she did it, and she's crying in your office or ecstatic, or bakes you a cake or something like that, that's cool. Patient happiness and satisfaction. Yeah. And also I actually enjoy, like, some people are like, well, I don't clip toenails, or I don't do that, or whatever. I do everything. I mean, I do some of the more complex foot and ankle surgeries that you can do, and I clip toenails. And I mean, when I'm clipping toenails, I get to know the patients and I talk to them, and, I take 2 to 3 minutes, and, it's a little bit of time, but, I'm doing something so mundane and so simple to do, but it makes people leave there happy, and it's instant gratification.
If I go get some clippers, will you clip mine right now?
I'll do it.
My hips are getting
I'll
bad.
do it.
And
if you
we
need
could do
it done,
a podcast.
well, let's do
right?
it. I'm in.
So,
but
I just trimmed them the other day. But
people,
like
it's like
I hear what
like
you're saying.
Rather than you're just examining, whatever it may be, and you're this, that, and I'm talking to my scribe or whatever. It's such a simple task that I don't have to worry about what I'm doing.
Yeah,
and I get to learn about their kids or their family or whatever. So I enjoy that too.
Awesome.
We had some great wins in there, but what was funny is going into that year, if I was fortunate enough to win 30 games, I'd have 500 victories. So we lose 2 games in December, one to McDowell. We had a 3-pointer to tie it. We missed it.
Was Pete coaching
Pete
there
Flynn
then?
was coaching, yeah. They beat us by 3. And then we lost to Erie. It was back then, it was Erie Central. We lost to, thank you. Well, another sip of that.
The fact that you remember the details of these games just blows my mind.
We lost Erie Central by 1 point.
Oh, wow.
And that was our 2 losses. So now I remember I'm driving Nick and Sean Grill down to because the girls live next door to us. So I'm driving Sean and Nick down, and Sean goes, "Coach, what do we need?" So what do we need for what? He says, "For you to get 500 wins." I said, "Well, Sean, we got to run the table. We got to win every one of our last regular season games, and we got to win 8 playoff games." I still remember Sean Grill saying, "No problem, Coach. We can do that." So we won out, and then we started the playoffs and won the district, beat General McLean for the second time that year. And then we won some great playoff games. We finally beat the legendary coach John Miller in Blackhawk.
Who was that? That hurdle, right?
Yeah.
That I mean, some of your other really good Franklin teams.
Yeah, we had played them 4 times in the previous 6 years in the playoffs, and heartbreaking games. I mean,
I went to a couple of those.
Yeah, the one was 69-68. They put Archie on the line with a few seconds left. Little touch foul. I'm still not sure where it came from. But
let's get the footage up for that,
yeah,
Jay. Let's have our subscribers and our viewers determine.
Then Archie hit the foul shot to put him up 1, and we missed a shot at the buzzer to win it. And we had a bad turnover early that would have won the game for us. But those things happen. And then the next year, we lose to Blackhawk in double overtime, Western Finals. They won state championships back-to-back years. And the one was sad, was Ryan Anderton took a shot at the end of regulation. Nate Keith is going to lay it up in. This kid from Blackhawk just rails him. No call. No call. Year before, the official comes over. I said, "Where's the foul?" He goes, "You think I'm calling a foul at the end of this game? You're crazy." I said, "You did last year when you put Archie on the line." He just turned around and walked away from me. But so anyway, we...
It was the same official?
I think it was.
Yeah.
Because like 4 years in a row, we had these guys from the Whitfield.
Wow.
And so now we're playing them that year. We win it. And I can still see.
Oh, you were playing Blackhawk?
We're playing Blackhawk.
Was it the Western?
Western semis.
Okay.
And we're playing Blackhawk. And in walks 3 officials. And John Miller's going like, "Who are these guys?" And here I found out later they were District 9 officials. They were neutral officials.
Fair.
So I thought they called a fair game, and we won. But this is funny. There's a book out now called Miller Time, John Miller's book called Miller Time. It is a great book. I read the doggone thing. I said, "This is good." So I called John up, and because I'd known him, Natalie played AAU ball for him one summer,
Yeah.
and I've known him, played against him and stuff. So I called John up, and I said, "John, I said, is this a legendary John Miller?" I said, "I just got your book called Miller Time." He goes, "Yeah." I said, "I just wanted to tell you what a great book it is." He goes, "Who is this?" I said, "It's Bill Hager." He goes, "Oh, Bill, how you doing?" I said, "Good." And then he goes, "Do you remember that last game when you beat us?" I said, "Yeah, vaguely, I remember." He said, "Do you know how bad those officials were?"
Did you bring it up, the other stuff?
No, I didn't. Yeah. I said, John, I forgot it so long ago. I forgot it was 20-some years ago, which I haven't forgotten at all. But he says, "They called a bad technical on us. They should have never called." I said, "Hey, what are you going to do?" He said, "You were better than us. You'd have probably beat us." But, so I just laughed. But Hillary played Blackhawk 3 years in a row, her sophomore, junior, senior year, their senior year in the Western Finals. And District 7 officials on every game.
Oh.
They lost, and Hillary made a drop step power move. I thought they were going to call a foul on Blackhawk. They called an offensive charge on her, took the bucket away, would have put Franklin up by 1 late in the game. And,
wow.
But what cracked me up is the Blackhawk team was going to the state championship, and one of the officials jumped in and took a picture with them. I said, "You got to be kidding me!" Yeah,
as he was getting the payment and the envelope.
Yeah, I don't know, but anyway.
But did you get your 500th win with the state championship?
Yeah, when we won that game, which we never talked about it, I didn't bring it up to the kids at all. I didn't want to.
The state championship game was your 500th victory?
500th victory, yeah.
How sweet is that?
Yeah. And what was the neatest thing about it was my dad was in the stands with some high school buddies of mine, and Nathan was in the stands, and Nick was on the team. And so they give out the medals, and somebody told the announcer that it was my 500th victory. So the announcer goes, "How sweet it is in Hershey, Pennsylvania. This is Coach Bill Hager's 500th victory."
I don't know, man. I love how in the country everybody knows your neighbors. You take care of each other.
Yeah. No, I would say the same thing. And I think and this isn't a slam to any people that grew up in the city. I mean, my wife grew up in Metro Detroit, much bigger than Erie, but there's a different mentality too in terms of like work ethic too. Like I grew up on a farm, right? So we were cutting our own wood. We were doing hay for the cows in the summer. You know my dad, General G. We were mowing the lawn 3 times a week.
3 times, if not 4. Gerald was tough on the grass.
If there was a blade out of place, it was like, all right, get out there and take care of it.
He was an old man way before he was an old man.
For
when
sure.
it comes to grass.
I was a middle child, only girl.
The rose between the thorns, right?
So yes, I did get a lot of special treatment, especially my dad. I had a great relationship with him. Like he would buy me snacks behind my brother's back. He would hide them and then give it to me later.
Sounds like favoritism.
Yes. Well, it was slightly, yes. I miss him. But at the time, like being from a small town, my parents, I mean, they were educated, so they wanted a better school for us. So in India, like 3 hours drive from where I lived, we had this nice elite boarding school where you need an entrance to get in. It was, and it's that's what my parents decided. My older brother, and I. We did the entrance. The entrance had a written exam, a physical exam, and an interview, and they were 4 weeks apart from each other. So it took 3 months.
Wow.
So the preparation, I still remember preparing to get into that boarding school. And interview, when I reached the interview stage, the principal at the time asked me, one of the questions was, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I wanted to be a pilot at the time. So its pilot was always, I think it was just the heroics you saw with it.
Yeah.
And just it just seemed great. And
Were you
and I
thinking
still,
like commercial airline pilot or?
No, I wanted to go to Air Force, Indian Air Force. Yeah. So, just starting like childhood, yes, I had different goals. And I was 8 to 9 years old when I started my journey at boarding school. That was 4th grade for me. And this was a sports school. So the focus was, I would say 60% sports, 40% academics.
Oh, wow.
So our mornings started pretty much waking up at 5 with the whistle in your ears. It was, yes, old school, like whistle, loud screeching whistle. And then, so before we started school, we had an hour and a half of sports. So for me, we had to pick a game, like a sport. So for me, it was swimming. Followed by school. Then again, we had like homework, everything till 4. After that, again, sports. So, and you were only allowed to pick one sport. So we pretty much did 3.5 hours.
Oh, wow.
Out of that 1 hour, you could count as, some conditioning, running, exercise.
Sure.
But at least 2 hours of one sport a day.
Wow.
So
how many kids were in a class?
So we had like 4th class had 3 sections to it, and each section had about 26 kids.
Okay.
So I would say about 75 to 80 kids.
For your grade?
For one grade.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But very like that, I feel like those are some of my best years looking back. Although the first 3 months, I hated my parents. It's like, why did they send me here?
Yeah.
Just homesick.
Were you there from 4th
until 10th grade?
Okay.
Yeah. So again, that's the time I felt I developed this. I didn't like sports at the time, but I think that just developed my habits. Mm-hmm. Waking up, like made me a morning person, basically.
Taught you discipline.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's even now, it does not need a motivation for me. It's just a habit.
Yeah.
I don't feel motivated every day, but if I don't do it, then it just doesn't feel right. So my older brother was there with me. He was just a year ahead. After like 10th grade, 11th and 12th, I moved closer to be with my parents. So unfortunately, like sports does not have a good future in India, as opposed to if I did the same level of sports here, I feel I would have done like well.
Yeah.
Because in India, I made it to nationals. So I represented my state. Now, if I did sports at that level here, I feel I would have gotten more out of it or more opportunities
Sure.
to play later in college.
Yeah.
But after 10th grade, it just abruptly stopped. Because then, especially in the culture I grew up in, it's very important to have a degree, like a doctor or an engineer or something on that level. So my parents were, okay, after 12th grade, you have to do this common entrance test. That's what you do for med school. So you can go to med school right after high school.
Okay.
You don't need the
There's
3 years
no-
of college.
Now, how long is your medical school training?
So medical school would be 5.5 years, including 1 year of internship.
Okay.
So after the 4.5 years of med school, you pick the internship. You are required to do part of it in the rural India to get that exposure, and then the specialties of your liking, basically. So 11th and 12th were the years where I felt really suddenly stopping sports. I didn't realize it at the time, but I felt, looking back, I wish I wouldn't have done that, because suddenly those 2 years, I put on 20 pounds almost, more than that, maybe, because it was all about studying and just academics completely. So started medical school, and I didn't feel good. So then I picked up again my, thankfully there was a gym nearby. I started going again. So
Were you
I'm
swimming
just-
again or just?
No, unfortunately, there was no access to the pool.
Okay.
So but I just got into other activities like running more so,
Okay.
and resistance training, weightlifting. So after med school, I did about 2 years of work, maybe 1 to 2 years again in rural India. I was still deciding what I wanted to do. Because the postgraduate there, which is similar to residency here, it's, believe it or not, is much harder. There are about 30,000 postgraduate seats in whole India, and there are more than 2 million kids applying for that.
Oh my goodness. So kind of going in line with that, like I know how many times you've kind of gone out of your way to take care of one of my patients personally.
Yeah.
To keep it light, and you can veto this if you don't want to. We're obviously not mentioning any names, but like, can you let's keep it fun. Can you give me one of the most uncomfortable situations you've ever had while working with Orthopedic Solutions?
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be one of my patients, but just
yeah, I mean, listen, for the kiddos at home, put your earmuffs on, because
oh gosh, we try to keep it fairly PG.
we
here.
do. But listen, there may or may not have been a ball sack that was exposed. I think purposely. Okay, no. So I was fitting a patient.
Oh my goodness,
You
you're
asked.
going there?
You asked. Okay, so you asked, and here's what happened.
I did. I may veto my own question.
That is what it is. So
we call it a scrotum.
So you listen, scrotum, ball sack, whatever. It's like,
Oh gosh,
and this is, I mean, happened not to me.
where's the edit button?
Several times, like over the years, but I have experienced it as well. And I can't tell sometimes if it's either purposeful or anesthesia, or I don't know. I don't ask, obviously, but where a patient will have like a gown on and they're like needs their range of motion, specifically like after an ACL or like after like an injury or, like a tibial plateau fracture, something like that, right? And you get this call and you're going to get him a CPM potentially for, that rehab after, and you're going to put him in this brace, and just kind of like, why is that guy maybe showing me his scrotum. It's so awkward. And it's like, no, there's no way. And you kind of just pull the gown down and you like look back and it's like, it's back up. And you're like, no, that was definitely on purpose. And there really is nothing else to say because they're kind of awkwardly looking at you. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to have you sign here. And I
don't think I'm ever going to ask that question again to any of my guests.
You asked what was the most awkward. And that's the most awkward. And I'm willing to bet if I called any one of our guys now and said, have you or have you not seen the male reproductive organ, one or the other, in a fitting at a hospital? They probably would all say yes. So,
yeah, my head's spinning right now.
Sorry.
Sawbone shoe stretch.
Yeah.
I ask all my guests to kind of bring or wear some of their favorite shoes or a pair of shoes that has like meaning or a story to them. So what are you wearing here?
Yeah, so these are some hiking shoes. So I wore these. We hiked Mount Algonquin last week and Mount Cascade. And, I've had a variety of different hobbies over the years. I've been a scuba diver. I raced motorcycles, shooting guns. I've just picked up golf. Truth be told, I was not in a good spot in 2014, 2015. I think Carol and I weren't getting along real well. We're sending kids off to college. We're hemorrhaging cash. We have 2 girls at Villa, a son at Virginia Tech. And I just was just not a real happy guy. I had heard about hiking on the Appalachian Trail. And in September of 2015, I started at the Delaware Water Gap. That's the New Jersey-Pennsylvania border. And I just assumed that in 6 days, I was going to hike from there to Harrisburg. I assumed that everybody hiked 25 to 30 miles a day.
Were those like my miles or
Right,
your miles?
My miles. And so I set off and had a ridiculously heavy backpack, 2 flashlights, a taser, completely unprepared and literally was humbled to the point of tears on that trip. My feet were split open. I ran out of water. At one point in time, I'm siphoning water out of a mud puddle. I very much relied on the kindness and generosity of strangers. Just a very humbling trip. Didn't make it anywhere near Harrisburg. It just basically was. It was a very difficult, hard hike, but was filled with memories. Was filled with kindness from other people.
Were you alone?
I was.
Wow.
And truth be told, it was a time where my marriage wasn't great. It just wasn't for a variety of reasons. And coming home, I live on Lord Road in Fairview. My wife stopped the car in the middle of the road, demanded that I get out of the car, and embraced me in this very tender, very loving embrace in the middle of Lord Road. And if you know my wife, who is a fantastic woman, she's a very private woman and is not into public display of affection. And that was a turning point in our marriage. And just to come home and to be able to have water without effort and food and a clean bed it sort of really saved my life. It sort of recentered me in terms of realizing how blessed I was, that I needed to be a bit more grateful for my wife, my children, my home, water, food, health, things that I was taking for granted. And so I sort of fell in love with the Appalachian Trail, fell in love with the beauty and the challenge of hiking. And in terms of like even that hike that you and I did on Laurel Highlands, how it was only 3 days, but it really was difficult. I mean, we were all really, really tired. I mean, I remember that lunch that we had afterwards. And so hiking for me is sort of a purification process. It's mentally, spiritually, physically, sort of a purification process. Just being up in the Adirondacks last week and hiking Mount Algonquin, realizing, look, I'm vulnerable. It's cold, it's windy, there's boulders all over, there's moose, there's bear. So for me, these long, arduous hikes, I find them to be very recentering. So I'm wearing my hiking shoes in honor of what hiking has done for me. And I think it has I don't want to be melodramatic, but I believe it has, saved my marriage, has kind of sort of just made me sort of, grateful to God, grateful for the blessings I have. And I think that those hardships for me that I experience when I'm hiking, really have been good. So I've done now 9 different hikes in the Appalachian Trail, and have explored other trails like the Pacific Coast Trail, the Adirondacks. I'm going to be doing some of that. And I plan on returning. We were in Letchworth State Park. And so I'm just going to continue that. I just find that that's good for me to sleep on the ground, filter water, struggle a little bit. I hope that makes sense to people, but to me, it's been good for me. Here I am driving my BMW over here, and you and I are, a Kakwa Club, and, all these wonderful things at our fingertips. But I think you and I both realize that can be taken away in an instant. And we realize that we have to work for it, and we need to be grateful, as I think you are and I am. And so these hiking shoes sort of remind me of, where I've been, and, how grateful I am for my wife, my home, my health, my career. Again, simple things like water and food, things that, people in our country, quite frankly, struggle for. And I am very grateful. So the hiking shoes are sort of the starting point of the whole thing.
All the kids started riding dirt bikes and 4-wheelers, so we've been doing that. Super, super cool. Nobody's crashed yet except for me.
So you're riding them too?
Well, I had to once.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Don't get hurt. Got a lot of people.
Don't wear Crocs.
Yeah. Is that what?
Yeah. So it's embarrassing.
Yeah. Tell it.
So we were riding bikes with the kids, and the littlest guy, he's 5 now, he got a new dirt bike, like this badass dirt bike for his birthday. Well, his dirt bike doesn't have training wheels, and he doesn't know that you have to stay on the gas. He thinks that you have to rev it up because he likes the noise it makes better and he likes to ride. So Mike rides out on this dirt bike, and he's like, here, and he hands it to me, and I'm like, what do you want me to do with that? And he's like, well, just ride around the yard, Brandy, so that he knows that he has to follow you. And I was like, okay, cool. So I had Crocs on. I'm riding around the yard, and I was like, all right, this is fun. Everything was fine. I didn't die or anything. And then I stopped for a quick second, and I parked by these cinder blocks. And when I went to go, I got my Crocs stuck on the foot peg. And at the same time, when I stood up to try to get it off, I also hit the throttle. And I just drove up onto the house and got some bruised up skins. And the littlest
But no
guy,
broken bones or anything like that.
The littlest guy just looks at me, and he's like, what happened? And I was like, I don't know, but that's what not to do.
Yeah. You're always teaching, right? Whether it's what to do or what not to do.
Exactly.
All right. Third, final question. Again, we've known each other since 2015.
Yep.
What is your favorite memory that we've shared together?
Boy.
Remember, there's kids watching out there.
I know. There's so many.
Parents, patients.
Well, did we get in trouble or not?
Did we get in trouble?
Oh, my goodness. A funny memory.
Oh, she's taking a drink. This must be an interesting one. I know
Can it be about a patient?
Yeah. We're obviously not going to talk about patient identifying who it is.
Well, there's a lot of memories. So things are always popping up all the time because I was the picture taker of the group. Videos. I have plenty of those. If anybody wants to see Charlie in the box or anything like that.
Gosh.
I was just talking, Travis and I were talking on the phone the other day. We're dying laughing. But
by the way, I came across some of those old videos. We were going through
hysterical.
My old videos with the boys. And it was cool. Sorry to interrupt you, but just the boys when they were young, apple bobbing with Tino, and he kept putting and he's like, I need a towel. Right? But there was the claymation thing that I did.
Oh my gosh.
I came across that. I was like, wow.
When we had the big snowstorm and you get snowed in.
Yeah, you're bored. You're like, what am I going to do? But keep going with your story.
That's so funny. So one of the funniest things I was just talking this through, is whenever you see a lot of patients in a day, right?
Yeah.
50 or whatever. And it's usually you don't even have to have any words. You just go do your thing. And I'll never forget one time we couldn't stop laughing. So So there was a patient in a room, number 8. And
She remembers the room number. Wow.
Whenever you were doing the exam, you may or may not have pushed the leg just a little bit outside of their comfort zone. And he made an awful sound. And immediately
It
you
sounded
lost your
something like
shit.
this. Ah! Right? This is like
that.
spot on like that.
And immediately you start laughing to the point where you can't stop laughing. So I'm like standing there and I'm laughing.
Not because I like
No.
was it was funny because I heard him because I don't.
Well,
I'm
you're
like,
going to tell him what you thought.
Yeah.
Right? So not because you hurt him, because it didn't hurt him. It was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So then you are sitting there dying laughing. I have no idea what to do, but I'm laughing too. We're both crying. And start acting like you're working on my computer, which you probably didn't even know how to work. So I'm not sure exactly what you were doing. You had
Because I didn't want to face the patient.
You had
I
your
think.
back to the patient. The poor patient's still laying there. I could not help him at the time because I was laughing. And then you finally think that you got your shit together after like 5 minutes. And I'll never forget, you kicked back to your rolly chair, went against the wall, and you kicked your knee up, and you lost it. Again, dying laughing. And you looked straight at me, and you said, "What are you laughing at? What's so funny?" And I was like, "Me?" Like, I'm constantly taking the blame for these things. So it turns out you thought,
I don't know what you're talking about. I totally remember that patient. And there was a scene in a movie, a 1980s movie, Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was a scene with character Poindexter at one of the parties. And we'll just say, without getting too graphic, he made that noise, that sound. And that's all I could think about when I heard it because it was literally spot on.
Yeah.
When that patient did that. And I couldn't obviously say that while we were in the room together, but like that, I just was envisioning that the whole time.
So the next time the patient came in, you said, "Brandy, I don't think that we should probably go in together." And I said, "Okay." And you're like, "Well, just forget it. Just come on." And so we went in there and that patient said, "You guys are so professional."
Yeah, I do remember that.
And we were like, "Oh my gosh, thanks so much. Aren't we funny?"
So when did you guys meet? Like what year?
I was a 4th year medical student. He was a 1st year pathology resident. And so we met
Please
there.
tell me you weren't doing a pathology rotation.
Well, I had.
Really?
And there's a long circuitous story behind this, but yes.
Okay.
And but we published a paper about malaria together. And that's long and short how we ended up dating eventually.
That's a love story right there. The malaria marriage.
Yes. Yeah.
Well.
So yeah, we had a malaria patient, and they're actually they were teeming with malaria parasite, they call it a parasitemia that we could actually see on their CBC. It's a scatter plot printout, and so you could actually see the load of the
Did this
parasite.
get published?
Yeah. Yeah.
So is that like hanging in your house somewhere?
No,
with your,
it probably should be.
Because your maiden name would have
Maybe
been on
we
there, right?
should.
That's a cool
Yes,
thing.
my maiden name's on there. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
But that was med school, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And then how did you determine that you wanted to go into internal medicine?
Yeah, I mean, that was something I actually was on the interview trail for dermatology and had already written a dermatology just help book for residents by that time. Then at that point in time, we were engaged, I think, to be married, but
Okay.
he was going to stay in Charlottesville. So I had to make a decision. Okay, I want to stay in Charlottesville. The places that I was looking for dermatology were outside of Charlottesville. And basically, I asked the program director at UVA if I could stay there and just do internal medicine. And I stopped interviewing for dermatology and did an internal medicine residency, which was my second choice anyway.
Sure.
And I knew already that in practice, you could practice dermatology as a general practitioner.
Sure. Yeah.
So even when I moved to Erie and eventually was in a private practice, I brought procedures there.
Okay.
And
So
just
you're always kind of interested in that.
always did it. Always did
Because
it.
I
yeah.
know where you are now.
Yeah. Yeah. And
which-
you'd think it would be a leap, but it's, yeah.
Well, I mean, now that I hear that background with dermatology, it seems
Yeah.
like a very natural transition.
Well, it was always something that I actually just enjoyed, and even the dermatologic aspect, just simply because the diagnostic skills that these people gain from just visual observation, which I'm a very visual person. I'm very much into art, that type of thing. So it was a natural segue for me. But this is a little bit of a different course, and I had, really practiced internal medicine for the most part during my time in Erie, and then with about my cancer diagnosis and family members with cancer and things like that. And full circle, I had to decide, you start reevaluating your life, and it came back to, hey, what makes me happy?
Yeah.
And one of them, which might, I think you and I have a lot in common with each other, is that, one thing that makes me really happy is not working for someone else.
Yeah. Autonomy.
And so I'm
one,
always
folks.
looking to you.
Autonomy.
We've had so much education. When someone tells you how to do something and it's not, it's not the right way, and you are powerless to say something.
Yeah.
You have to make a decision. And I personally, I'm always watching you from afar and just enjoy seeing your business thrive. And you did it all yourself. And you've kind of broken away from that hospital institution with people telling you what to do. Now, as a doctor, best how to run your OR.
Yeah.
And so I'm anxious to hear a little bit more about you and how that's all set up and how you're able to do that. But I hope that this starts a new wave of physicians becoming more independent and really regaining that autonomy that we've completely lost with the way medicine's become.
Kim Mascia,
Right?
I mean, we need to collaborate more, because that is honestly one of my big passions in life,
Yeah.
Aside from doing orthopedic surgery and hosting podcasts. But my philosophy is like, well, we're doing one podcast. Why shouldn't we start a second? So getting ready, little sneak peek, teaser, not telling you the name just yet, but we will be starting kind of like a truly medically oriented podcast for other physicians that are looking or really exploring that autonomy of private practice. Excellent. Because that pendulum has swung so far to one side. But just stay tuned. We'll give you some more on that.
That's fantastic.
later.
And I think there's hope.
Well, now that I know you're such a huge basketball fan, my third question actually just changed. So one of my first guests was Bill Spiros. He's a attorney at McDonald Dillig Law Firm, one of my very good friends. And his question to me, I'm going to ask it a little bit differently so that it can be a little bit more active and to me a little bit more fair. He asked me all-time 5, your starting 5, and I'm going to have my starting 5.
Okay.
We can't repeat players. He got to name his 5 first.
Yeah.
And then I won't say the table scraps.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of great players, but it became very challenging. So as my guest, I'm going to let you go first. We'll go position. So your point guard, and they have to play each other. Like my 5 plays your 5.
Okay. Point guard. Can we call Curry a point guard?
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you taking him?
I'll take Curry.
Yeah, that was my point guard for.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. So I have to figure out somebody that I think can match up with him, because Curry, I mean, obviously he's probably my favorite current player right now. I love.
Yeah.
I'm taller, but I wouldn't be tall in college basketball.
Right.
I'm 6'3", but I can't really jump. Wasn't that quick.
Yeah.
But I could shoot back in the day.
Yeah.
So that's why I really love like that Golden State Warriors or Splash Brothers. So let's see who I'm going to go with. I'm going to go, and I think he would struggle a little bit defensively on Curry, but I think offensively he would, I won't say dominate Curry, because Curry's not the best defender. I'm going to go with Magic for my point guard.
Yeah.
Because I think you could maybe bring him down in the post a little bit.
That's a tough matchup.
And make Curry have to guard him in the post.
That's a really tough matchup. Yeah.
All right. So now what we'll do is like I get the next, because I know you're
Okay.
We'll alternate that way. So I'm going Jordan.
Okay.
With my shooting guard. I don't think I have to explain anything. And
No, you don't have to.
I mean, I've had debates about the GOAT with LeBron, and I don't even put him in my conversation. I think, quite honestly, Kobe is the closest to Jordan from a competitive standpoint and his game.
Yeah.
Right? He was just dominant.
Yeah.
So
Can I
who's
go
your?
Kobe as?
Yeah, I think
yeah.
that'd be a great matchup.
Yeah, that would be a great matchup.
And I think that some games Kobe's gonna make Jordan take it on the chin, and we're talking like their primes, obviously.
Yeah.
So all right, so now you get your small forward.
Small forward. Wow, that's a tough one. I'll let you go first.
You want me to go first?
I'll let you go first. Yeah.
All right, well, then I'll give you the last two. I'm going Scotty. I mean, I just feel like he is such a good defender, yet a great 1-2 punch with either Jordan or whoever else. He can score, but like I won't say underrated because he was oftentimes defensive first team, right?
Yeah.
But I think most people just thought he's Jordan's running mate, but like he was during his prime could have been any other team's go-to player.
Can we say Giannis as a 3?
I can give you Giannis as a 3.
Okay.
Yeah. We can have some flexibility with this.
Okay.
That's
I just like the matchup.
I like that matchup too.
Yeah.
I saw a picture of Giannis with his brothers in Greece, like just recently on like a family vacation. That dude is jacked. Like you could always tell by his arms, but like he had like a V shape when he didn't have a shirt on. It was just like his lats were huge, and what a freak athlete.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he can get down the floor in like 3 steps.
Yeah.
And no one can stop him when he's going to the hole too.
Yeah.
All right, I'll give you 4. You pick your power
4.
forward.
Can we call Dirk Nowitzki a 4?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that because it's going to give me some latitude to go with someone that I generally wouldn't say is a 4. I think they're 3/4, but I'm going Larry.
Oh, wow.
Because I like the matchup of Dirk and Larry.
That's a really good matchup. Yeah.
All right, because they're kind of similar, very similar players.
They are. Yeah.
I mean, they both are, I think, extremely smart basketball players, right? Like their IQ is off the charts.
Yep.
I think Bird is probably one of the smartest players. Like his highlights are just ridiculous to watch.
From an athleticism standpoint, I remember wondering how does Bird do it, and I remember when Dirk, when they won the championship, I was like, how is he doing? I mean, he's
getting off the floor this far,
and he was pretty banged up for that, for the championship.
Yeah.
And so that's a very good.
This is going to be a good game. I wish we could really like simulate this.
Yeah.
So how about I'll give you pick your center.
I gotta go Shaq.
Yeah, I figured that's a pretty dominant.
One of the most dominant.
Yeah, that's a tough one for me to even like compete against because so many great centers. Whether you're going to say Kareem, Wilt, but like I honestly think Shaq would push those guys around because he just had the size and there was just who am I going to go with? Might as well go with like Luke Longley or something. No. I mean, it's hard to kind of go against, Kareem being. I mean, up until LeBron took the all-time scoring position, like I think he had enough of a game that he would keep Shaq honest. Yeah. Right. Like he could do the sky hook, and I think that'd be tough for Shaq to defend.
One of the memories that
hey, remember Connie Molly's watching this, so
no, one of the memories that I couldn't forget. Hi, Mrs. Molly. That I couldn't forget even if I wanted to. I remember, and it seems small now, right? But it was that year I was a freshman, and you were a sophomore, and we were playing at Union City. And at that time, I don't think either of us made it into the rotation quite yet. And the JV game was over or whatever, and we're sitting there and we're watching the varsity game, and Ashley Orris starts lighting it up. And the whole time we're like, there's no way he didn't just take that shot.
Was this the game where he scored 49 points on us?
Yes. He scored 49. And literally, I remember at the end of the game, we're both looking at each other like, what do you think he had? And I'm like, you looked at me, you're like, I bet you had 25. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I bet you had 20, maybe 27. And then we saw the box score.
We were off by 20, almost 25 points. He was literally pulling up from just across half court.
Yes, he was. And he was hitting everything. He was hitting everything. And he shot 1 million free throws.
It was one of those games where you just kind of like feel the momentum and the zone. And we had those games, never 49 points worth.
No.
but,
Ashley was a good player.
I mean,
Ashley
if we
was a very
had
good player. Great guy,
25,
too.
30 points, we were like, dang, that was a heck of a game. But
Yeah.
49 points in a high school game.
Right.
And other than free throws, that was the closest that he ever came to the basket when he was shooting, because he was shooting 30, 35 footers and just draining them on us.
He hit a lot of threes.
That was the old gym too, right? Where like
in Union City, yeah.
The bench was against like the wall.
That-
there was
yes.
no bleachers
Yes.
behind us.
All the bleachers were on the other side.
Yeah.
And some of them were like up on an elevated.
Yeah, it was like a 2-tier type of thing.
Yes. Yeah,
So-
absolutely. Yeah. No, I never I've never forgotten that. And mostly the reason I didn't forget it was because our banter back and forth throughout the entire game. I literally remember it was like color commentary and play-by-play going on from the bench. And then by the end of it, I mean, coaches were looking at us because it was almost like, who are you rooting for here?
we were
Because
almost-
every time you hit a deep shot, we'd be like, whoa!
Yeah, we were almost like fans. We were like, yeah, baby. Well, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I remember about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event.
Here it is, boys. Sawbones Challenge. Okay. This is number 6. So
No swearing.
you got some big paws.
Doesn't mean I can play basketball.
So rules are first one to 5. We alternate shots. You have it. Right here.
Right here. Okay.
Not even warmed up.
Yeah, she's starting with the JV squad.
No way.
We might want to edit that one.
That's not good. Pass, right? I like to spin.
Yeah, I like it.
There it is.
There it
All right,
is.
1-1. Uh-oh. Get it, Luke.
Oh!
You go for the bank. This will be over to you. Oh, the bank is open. 2-2.
I didn't call it though.
Oh!
You got robbed.
Uh-oh, 3-2.
Very aggressive.
It's going to be a comeback if we come back, but 3-2.
Yeah, don't be a brick city.
Larry Bird style.
Aim for the bank.
Tied up.
Oh! Yeah, bricking! You should get the most bricks award.
Build a house with those bricks.
Yeah. Build a mansion with those bricks.
4-2. This could be the first defeat.
Oh no!
I'm 5-0.
Not on your home court. I can't.
There we go. Yeah!
4-3. This will be it if he makes it. 4-3. Oh, it's over. It's over. I can't beat you in a chicken wing contest. I can't beat you in a basketball contest. Go first, and by the way, you get a prize too. So
Even better.
yeah, that's it, folks.
Thanks, Evelyn. The basketball
Paid off.
Before we go into the next section, which is going to be awesome and fun. But by the way, the next section is the 7th inning. No, this was the 7th inning shoe stretch. It's the Sawbones Challenge.
Okay.
Which, have you watched any of these episodes? You said.
Sadly, listen, man.
That's he's making excuses. That's
I'm
a no.
not. I haven't.
That's okay.
So you're completely
next
surprising me. I guess
Wednesday.
that's the one benefit.
Perfect. But before we do that, I want to tell just a couple Jim Toohey stories.
Oh, crap.
Yeah, because you got me at the beginning.
Okay.
So one is...
I'll be quiet.
So Jim's second son, Nate, and my second son, Santino, are the same age. And for a couple years, they were classmates. We would coach the MYAA, Mill Creek Youth Athletic Association rec team. And, this was probably 4 years ago. and I was like, "Hey Jim, I'm gonna coach. You want to help me?" You're like, "Yeah, I'll help you." So we get in there. We're doing some practices, and we eventually get into the games. And our mutual friend, your business partner, Bill Spiros, it's kind of funny because you work with him, and then I see him, and he just kind of like would ask me. He's like, "How is it coaching with Jim?" I go, "Yeah, it's good." I was like, "He is really, really intense, though. I mean, really intense, like to the time where I'm sometimes like kind of taking a step back, not offended at all. I'm just like, whoa, like Jim's intense." And then apparently he told me this later that he asked you like, "How is it coaching with Ryan?" And you were like, "He is really, really intense." do you remember?
I didn't never heard that.
But did you say that?
Yeah. My memory. I don't know if I would have said intent, because like you weren't like yelling at kids, if that could be construed that way. But you brought like, you weren't Mr. Passive Dad. So would I have used the word intense? I don't know, but I would have said Ryan, he brings it, man.
I would say intense is fairly accurate. Just I almost got, I wouldn't say thrown out of a game last year because I was coaching.
Well, but not. I'd say that because those kids were little. I think we were pretty stinking positive with them. We just brought a lot of energy.
But as it gets a little older, right, and you get you get your competitive juices flowing.
Sure.
And it's not like, hey, my kid's the best or anything like that. But and I hate to bring it about the refs, but like something happens and you're just like, what?
We're human.
Yeah.
But I actually, if you would, it's kind of funny to hear that, because if you just walked in and say, "Hey, how did you and Ryan work as a coaching group that year?" And I mean, we know each other even a lot better now than we did then. But nonetheless, I have good vibes for it. But you're right. Like, I feel like at first I was like, "Oh, Ryan really brings it," and you probably then in my own way, because I'm full of getting after it when I'm out there. And so, yeah, that's funny to hear that.
I mean, then we coached flag football together too, and that was a lot of fun too.
Heck yeah!
But so that's funny story number one. But the second one, so we're coaching. I think this is the second year that we coached together.
I thought this is what you were going to tell.
Yeah, we're going there. We're coaching and we're practicing at Sinai Grace because I think this was after the contract with like Old Family First, Erie Sports Park, whatever it was at that time. So all the games were at Sinai, and we're practicing. And we had this one kid, I'm not going to obviously say last names, but his name was Gianni. And
wonderful little fella.
Wonderful kid. He was a bigger, taller kid. And I mean, he had an awesome rat tail.
Yes, he did.
It wasn't really a mullet, but it was more of like a really long rat tail. And so Gianni, we're going through, I think it was like layup lines or something like that. And we're like trying to teach the kids like, okay, right side, you're going to go up for the layup. The guy from the left is going to get the rebound. You're going to go on the outside so you don't cut in front of the guys coming in for the layup. And the same thing when you're going to the rebounding line. And Gianni just was not getting the drill at all. And Coach Toohey was like, I got to get his attention. So he's like, Luigi. And everybody's looking around like, who the hell is Luigi? And Gianni's even looking around. And then he goes, he's just frankly ignoring Coach Toohey, but it's because he didn't know that his name was Luigi because it wasn't. It was Gianni. And Jim just kept going.
I felt
Luigi. And he was getting angry that the kid wasn't responding to him. And so I'm like, Jim, I'm like, who are you calling Luigi? He's like, Luigi. And he's pointing at him. I'm like, that is not Luigi. I was like, his name's Gianni.
You were laughing your butt off when you told me that. You were like, his name's Gianni, you dork. Oh, yes. So, yes, God bless Gianni. I did do that. And it wasn't my proudest moment. But yet we've had some laughter over
gosh, there's so many more. I could tell the football story. That's for a different day.
Oh,
but
Luigi.
Do you have any funny stories you'd like to share before we go into the Sawbones challenge?
Oh man, Ryan, I didn't know I was supposed to come up with a funny one for you.
I can keep telling them about you if you want.
I won't.
I was going to try to give you an opportunity.
Many of them involve
censored.
Yeah, would need
Connie
to be
Ball is
censored.
watching this.
Yeah, no, I'll pass. I appreciate you. We have funny moments. We do.
Veto,
as any friendship should.
Yeah, there's certain things that are in the vault, right? Mm-hmm. So was I bad to bring the Luigi one out?
No, that wasn't
an
intentional.
innocent.
Yeah, it was just my total. I will admit one of the things my brain doesn't do so well of late is remember names.
I'm horrible with names.
So yeah, there's no surprise, and the fact that like I mixed two names of like intense Italian like descent, if you will. We all do that, right? We type. We'll create a typecast on somebody,
Yeah.
and then subconsciously, that was part of the brilliance. If I was yelling Mark,
I'm like, does he have a mustache?
Right.
Is it Mario, Luigi? What's going on?
if I was yelling Mark, that wouldn't have been funny, you know?
Yeah, no. I'm so glad you picked Luigi.
Something about
I
Johnny, Luigi. They ended in I.
The funny thing is I just, other than Mario Brothers, I've heard of Luigi's, but I've never met a Luigi. So that the fact that you picked that Italian name,
I don't know a Luigi, so I can't say that. Like the night before, I was hanging out with a Luigi. No, not a great moment, but a funny one, and it was innocent, so that's good. It stands.
Well, I have loved some fishing in the outdoors where I'm free. It's where I spent my time before I hurt my hip and my knee. When that doctor asked me, son, how'd you get in this condition? I says, they saw bones, I'm just carrying on an old family tradition. I wanna know, Doc, why do you think I got some pain in my joints from years of playing hard in this life that's too short? When that doctor asked me, son, how'd you get in this condition? I says, they saw bones, I'm just carrying on an old family tradition. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tell me all about it, Doc.